Hey everybody, this is Austin Bach bringing you a standard video. Today we're going to be looking at a post-rotation deck with Battle for Zendikar, which is Esper Dragons. So as you can tell, or as you might know, Battle for Zendikar is not yet available on the regular Magic Online client. So today we're on the beta client, which allows you to play the new set up until its release, which is next Friday, about a week from now. So we're testing out some stuff. Basically you have to apply it into the beta, and the objective is for wizards to monitor things and make sure there's not any bugs that they need to resolve or anything like that. But the upside for us, of course, is that we get to play some free standard, so I'm going to take advantage of that. I've been working on this deck for a couple weeks, off and on. I like some of what it's got to offer, so we're going to see if it stands up against some of the other decks in the format. So the shell, most of you should be familiar with. Silumgar Scorn, most important card in the deck. Blue base, basically just countering what your opponent's doing for very cheap. Got the dragons to enable it. We're also trying out a couple copies of Scatter to the Winds, which I'm not sure if I like it or not yet. It is, a hard counter. It's 3 mana, so I don't know if I like it more than, say, Disdainful Stroke or Negate or something a little more specific, but I have seen it come up that the Awaken gets you another threat that can actually win the game, so see how good that performs for us. It's also worth noting, by the way, you might notice that we've got a lot of white cards in the deck, more than normal. We're playing Swift Reckoning and Stasis Snare, which is a new card, which I think is very good. Previously this deck played a blue-black base, splashing white for Ojutai, but I think first of all the mana is good enough that you can go for more of a 3-color shell, and also the white is now a better option than black as your secondary color, mostly because of Stasis Snare. It's going to be one of the most important cards, I think, for fighting Hangerback Walker and rhinos and whatever else comes up that you need to deal with, because we no longer have Hero's Downfall, which was just an easy answer to everything. We are still playing Foul Tongue Invocation, but it's fairly easy to cast with only a single black mana. I'll get to the mana base in a minute, but we value the black cards that are only a single black, because black is sort of our third color, basically our splash. Along that line we also have one Utter End, and the black dragons. We're playing pretty much the same dragon suite as the other deck, but now the black dragons, the Silumgars, are the splash instead of the Ojutai. So we're playing 3 Ojutai, 2 Silumgar the Drifting Death, and 1 Dragonlord Silumgar. Pretty standard mix. At one point I had 2 Dragonlord Silumgar in the main deck, but I felt like he was just dying immediately way too often, and I really like Silumgar the Drifting Death at this point in the standard format. There's a lot of Hangerback Walkers running around, so we can clear up the tokens, and there's just like a lot of aggressive decks that we want to get rid of some Cordling Outbursts and whatnot. A couple other quick notes about the deck. The draw spells, we've got a couple Anticipates just as a cheap way to set up our hand. Only 3 Dig Through times, because I felt that they get a little clogged up in your hand sometimes. I don't really want to have too many copies, so I'm playing 1 Dragonlord's Prerogative in the main instead of the 4th copy. You'll notice that like Stasis Snare does not put itself in the graveyard, so it's a little bit tougher to get your get enough delve going. We've also got 1 Planar Outburst, 1 Tragic Arrogance. I like having 2 sweepers at this spot, but I'm not sure which is the best. I am pretty sure that Planar Outburst is better than End Hostilities, but I'm not sure. This does have the downside of if your opponent casts an Awaken spell, you can't kill their land, but I'm not sure how often that's going to come up. And Tragic Arrogance is a pretty good answer to Hangerback Walker. You can wipe their board without giving them a million Thopters, basically. Just let them keep the Hangerback. That's pretty much it for the main deck. We've got the Singleton Ugin, which actually hasn't impressed me that much. There's a lot more colorless threats in the format now that Ugin can't kill. Hangerback Walker, Blight Herder, Oblivion Sower, and so on. So I could definitely see Ugin being expendable moving forward, but we're going to test him out a little bit today to make sure. So let's go quickly over the mana base. There's 4 Flooded Strand, 4 Polluted Delta, which now with the new dual lands, which are Prairie Stream and Sunken Hollow, which most of you should all know what they do by now. Yeah, you can go fetch dual lands now, which is great. It's nice that the fetches are blue though, or they can get islands, because early in the game we're going to want to get basic islands, so we can cast Zendikar Storm. We only have 2 Sunken Hollows, because black is our splash, and we don't want to have too many tap lands in our opening hand. But so we have 8 fetches, 2 Sunken Hollows, and 1 basic swamp. Oops. Which means there's essentially 11 sources of black, plus the 2 Haven of the Spirit Dragons for our dragons. So I think our black mana is fine. We really need to have double blue and double white early, so we can't have too many black sources clogging things up. Then other than that, we've got some basics and Tranquil Coves. Can come down and fix our mana early. So that's pretty much it for the main deck. Let's move on to the sideboard quickly. We've got 2 Erishing Clerics come in against aggro, obviously. 2 Hangerback Walkers, which at one point I had Jace Bryn's Prodigy in this spot, but Hangerback fulfills a similar role against lower decks. Can come in and just become a problematic threat quickly. And I also like that you can bring it in against aggro as well, whereas Jace would be more of a liability. We're also trying out a spicy one in Minister of Pain, which I really like against all the token decks in the format if you run into any of those. Because the combo that you run with this guy, since you no longer have Drown in Sorrow, you need to get a little bit creative to do a Mass Sweeper on turn 3. You can play a Hangerback Walker on turn 2, you can curve that into Minister of Pain, sack the Hangerback Walker, get a Thopter, and then you have a 2-3 around to deal with their next threat. It seems really strong to me. Trying out a couple Ruinous Paths in the sideboard. I'm slightly concerned about the mana, because like I said, black is our splash. But post-board games we can sort of prioritize our black mana a little more, and mostly it's just a test to see if we can get away with this, because Planeswalkers are a bit of a problem. So I wanted to have something in the sideboard to deal with them. 1 Dragonlord Silumgar and 1 Tasigur for slower matchups. Tasigur I actually bring in quite a bit. I like it against pretty much every deck in the format. It's good against aggro to block, it's good against control as a cheap threat, good against mid-range to get ahead on cards. We have an extra Dragonlord's Prerogative, again for slower matchups. A couple Disdainful Strokes for problematic cards like Planeswalkers and just other slow decks. Another Tragic Arrogance in case we need another sweeper, like some sort of green mid-range deck. And we're trying out 1 Radiant Purge, which is a good answer to cards like Dragonlord Ojutai, Mantis Rider, Onofenza, Siege Rhino. I like having 1 powerful but narrow card to bring in against such decks. Mantis Rider is a bit of a problem for this deck, so maybe we even end up bumping up on Radiant Purges or something. But anyway, that's pretty much everything. I think I covered it all, but let's go ahead and bring it into round 1.